happy Scorpio new moon. It is a Mercury night, sun hour, and it's actually past the new moon because overwhelm has been a common feeling, and yeah, I'm no different. The overwhelm is real, but yeah, at the same time, there's this kind of feeling of being on the brink of profound collective liberation, and how that is going to actually play out is a mystery. And I think that's why a lot of us have been feeling that tired and wired feeling, where there's some sort of feeling of anticipation, but feeling uncertain as to why. And there's a lot of changes happening, there's a lot of secrets being revealed, a lot of epiphanies. So yeah, there's just a handful of things that I wanted to mention about this Scorpio new moon. So it officially occurred on the 19th at 10:56 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it is currently 2:03 a.m. So the moon is at 29 degrees now, opposing Uranus retrograde in Taurus. And so that's one of the big aspects, signatures to this new moon. Uranus is the energy that suddenly shakes things up, or there can be this surprising epiphany, something that just catches you off guard, and it's retrograde back into the sign of Taurus at 29 degrees. And it'll go back to 26 degrees and then re-enter Gemini in April. But at the moment, Uranus in Taurus is opposite this new moon in Scorpio. So this axis between Taurus and Scorpio is all about power, and power can come in different forms: love, money, manipulation, sex, and those kind of matters can be coming up, which are getting a shake-up. Like there's some sort of liberation from or breaking free of a relationship or some sort of contract with maybe a spouse or a partner, even business dealings with a financial institution, because Taurus is related to money. Well, this axis between Taurus and Scorpio is related to money, love, more like sex and power. So when you're in contract with a financial institution or credit card, or anything, any kind of organization that has or loans money, then there is a power play automatically in place. So it could be relationships that have some sort of financial connection to it, financial bond, or something that you're bound to, and there can be a liberation from that with this new moon in opposition to Uranus and Taurus. And when we look at the ruler of Taurus, which is Venus, is also in Scorpio. And so we are really looking at the shadow sides of the relationship and seeing how the imbalance has caused us to maybe lose our self-worth in some way. And so this new moon, which is a new beginning, is like the beginning of the end. And Mercury is also retrograde in Scorpio, actually at the same degree as the new moon. So the new moon occurred at 28 degrees, and Mercury, which is the planet of communication, is considered to be in the heart of the sun. We can get some major downloads, information that is considered to come from like the gods, and these are universal messages that will help us kind of process these next steps. It's insight, like in divine insight, that will help us proceed with the next major steps that we are heading toward. And along with these aspects that I just mentioned is the trine to Neptune in Pisces, being another water sign. Neptune also retrograde, and so this is a very internal kind of energy. Mercury is retrograde, Uranus is retrograde, Neptune and Saturn in Pisces are retrograde. So this is pretty internal emotions that we are excavating and analyzing. With Neptune, I consider to be kind of like a tuning fork, so you're able to really receive hunches. You get this intuitive nudge that tells you to look into a certain piece of information or whatever it might be, or like open this book or open this door. Pay attention to your dreams. Symbolism is also connected to Neptune, especially in Pisces, because Neptune is the ruler of Pisces, and a lot of symbolism. Neptune or Pisces is the sign that speaks in symbols. It's less about words and talking. That's more like Gemini and Virgo. And Pisces speaks in frequency, and music is also related to Neptune. Along with this really intuitive communication between Mercury in Scorpio and Neptune in Pisces, there can be this super creative flow. That kind of flow comes from the divine. This is like, divine, like you're receiving this from the divine, and God sent. It's like God sent creativity. And so these energies also with Uranus in a conversation with Neptune, Uranus being in Taurus, which is an earth sign, and Neptune being in Pisces, which is a water sign. Neptune being the dream state and the illusions and imagination, creativity, and Uranus being like the great awakener, like sudden bolts of lightning. This is like waking up from the dream. This conversation between Uranus and Neptune is like waking up from the dream, realizing what's real versus what's AI. There's this intuitive knowing that is being translated here, that is being transmitted to us in this new seeding, of the new moon in Scorpio. And Scorpio energy is also the type that susses out, the truth that has been hidden or buried. And so with the conversations that are going on between Uranus and Neptune, like breaking of the illusion, and all these energies in Scorpio, the moon, the sun, Mercury, Venus, and also Black Moon Lilith. Black Moon Lilith is the kind of energy that is, it's like the dark side of the moon, Black Moon Lilith. So the gift of Black Moon Lilith is the ability to bring up and kind of provoke these situations where true colors will be shown, which is the truth, where the truth can be revealed. And they can be irksome, and they, it's, especially in Scorpio, it's designed to be uncomfortable and possibly, painful. And this is designed for us to acknowledge and witness and transmute so that we can evolve. This is like I don't want to say test, but this is, the type of situation where you're faced with choosing the light side or the dark side. It just, timelines shift when you make a decision. And so there's no right or wrong choice. It's just a matter of what direction and how far you go after making that decision. So hopefully that made sense. But along with those conversations is this super grand water trine with not only the new moon in Scorpio and all of the planets I just mentioned in Scorpio, and Saturn and Neptune in Pisces retrograde, but also Jupiter in Cancer, which is also retrograde. So when there are 3 signs of the same element at the same degrees, they're all within like 25 to 29 degrees. This is what's considered to be a grand water trine. And so this grand water trine is like a circuit of energy of water, which is connected to intuition, emotions, with Jupiter in the mix. And Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. It loves to be in Cancer. Jupiter naturally expands anything it touches, and in the sign of Cancer, it's able to do that much more because Cancer wants to connect emotionally. And so with Jupiter in Cancer making these aspects to the planets in Pisces and Scorpio, there's a flow of energy and a flow of ancestral wisdom that's coming from the, Cancer energies, from the mother, from the matriarchal mother womb energies, from the energies of water that has so much memory over millions of years before any of us were even born, before the dinosaurs or dragons were present. Water has been the constant on this planet and in this universe. And so there's a lot of memory that has been recycled and passed down and comes through us every day. And I feel like we are now becoming more cognizant of it. What is her name? Veda Austin, who is, I think she's in Australia. She has been doing so much experimentation with the consciousness of water, being able to communicate with it, and or her, I guess water is feminine, and able to really receive these profound messages through the images that the water presents when it is frozen in a petri dish. So I would definitely check out Veda Austin, Veda Austin, like this city. But yeah, there's so much profound healing that can be had right now, cleansing of old scars. And these retrograde planets, these planets that are retrograde, that are back in the previous sign, so Uranus back in Taurus, that's going to be the last time it's in Taurus for 2 more lifetimes. And same with Neptune. Saturn will return to Pisces in another 30 years or so. But these are super like ancestral pattern breaking kind of configurations that we have right now. So yeah, it is unprecedented, as much as I hate that word. But these events are groundbreaking and revolutionary. And the revolution that is playing out right now is not our typical revolution. It's a lot more mindful, and with all of these goddess asteroids coming on the scene and making these connections and having these conversations with significant planets, like the closer they are in degree, the louder the conversation. So Sedna is in Gemini, and when Uranus moves back into Gemini, they will be conjunct at 1 degree. And the mythology of these goddess asteroids are definitely worth looking into, because it definitely speaks to especially the feminine archetypes that have been persecuted, and the perspective of the stories of these asteroids have been told by the patriarchal view, which is, we can already guess that there is a slant to those stories that put the feminine in a certain kind of light. And so Sedna is in Gemini at 1 degree. Haumea is in Scorpio at 3 degrees, I believe. And so there's a square, like a aspect of tension between Pluto in Aquarius and Haumea in Scorpio. But at the same time, there's also, soon there will be another square with Jupiter in Leo next year, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself. And then Ceres also just moved into Aries, and Ceres has become a lot more significant and noticeable because she's been present with every major event. She's been right there in the mix, just kind of like behind the scenes. But Ceres is, some people call her like a second moon, where she provides nourishment when she is in her joy. When she's not in her joy, she withdraws. Like there's a withdrawing effect that she has when Ceres is not in a good position. Ceres and Juno is currently squaring the nodes in Sagittarius, and Juno is the goddess of relationships and partnerships. Doesn't have to always be with marriage, like marriage and romantic relationships could be collaborations. And Vesta also just moved into Capricorn. Vesta is the home and hearth. So yeah, these are big choice point energies that we have. And what's really important is to hold the frequency of what we want to grow, because with Jupiter in the mix, in alignment with Mercury in Scorpio and Neptune, these are very intuitive, emotion and like heart-based energies. And Jupiter in Cancer expands anything it touches. So with Jupiter in conversation with Mercury in Scorpio and Neptune in Pisces and Saturn in Pisces, the degree that they're at are very close, and the closer in degree, the louder the conversation. So whatever we're feeling and whatever thoughts that we're thinking, the words that we're writing, speaking, can expand. And with Saturn also in the mix, it will add that kind of signature of sustainability. So that's what will be carried forward into the future. So we really want to be conscious and aware of how we are speaking, like the energy that we are charging our words with. Even in non-verbal communication, there can be a look, or whether you hold the door for someone behind you or not. All of these nuanced ways of communication is really sensitive right now. It's being picked up by especially Neptune in Pisces. It's a super sensitive, very attuned energy. And so we want to make sure we hold that frequency, play, high vibe music. Able Heart, again, is one of my go-tos when I wake up. I mean, that's, something to get you going in the morning to set your day, set the tone. So yeah, Jupiter in Cancer is going to also bring a lot of wisdom from the ancestors, the matriarchal line. Cancer is all about the mother energy, Earth, Gaia, and it's also in a conversation with Uranus in Taurus. And so again, water, Cancer, and Earth, Taurus, are able to make something sustainable and stable and solid. So we really want to dream bigger with these energies. Jupiter in a trine to Neptune and Saturn in Pisces in a trine to these Scorpio energies. And we're going to have this grand water trine going on for a while, even when the sun moves into Sagittarius, which is, I believe, on the 21st of November. We're still going to have Mercury retrograde coming back from 20 degrees, and then moving forward, it'll re-enter Sagittarius, I believe, around December 6th, I want to say, 6th or 7th. And then we still have Venus in Scorpio, and that will still hold that grand water trine. And Venus is all about relationships and money and self-worth. So we really want to assess the relationships that we have with, our banks, our, anybody that we have some sort of a financial tie with, and also our self-worth. If there's someone who has not made you feel worthy or has not respected you in any kind of way, then it's time to have a conversation with that person. Yeah, a lot of these goddess asteroids are having these loud conversations with Uranus, with Pluto, with Saturn and Neptune, and it's meant for us to really expand our throat chakra and speak up for ourselves. And yeah, even a few days ago, I sent a message that I was, in the past scared to send, to say, because I pretty much told a family member through a text message, because there's always this kind of like broken record of negativity, and I said that the energies of the planets are really powerful right now, and anything that we think or feel will be picked up and it will grow. Whatever that we are thinking will grow and expand. And I was like, so that's why I don't want to talk to you, because I don't want that to grow. I'm just protecting my potential. I hope you understand. I love you. And I was pleasantly surprised, which is what Uranus does. Uranus brings blessings and, unexpected blessings, also blessings in disguise. And so she was receptive to the message. And so hopefully maybe that can be something that inspires you to speak your truth, and it can be received in a delightfully surprising way. And we can, keep this ball rolling instead of staying stagnant in the same old energy that holds us back. So with these planets, these are the last times that these planets are going to be in these signs for 2 or 3 lifetimes. Uranus will not be back in Taurus for another almost 200 years. Same with Neptune in Pisces. And yeah, these are unprecedented times. This is a revolution, but it's not your typical revolution. This is more a mindful revolution with these goddess asteroids having these conversations. And we can see that kind of play out in the real world, how the feminine leaders are approaching problems way differently than previous leaders. So yeah, hopefully that made sense. This is really a very cathartic kind of new moon in Scorpio. It's making this big water trine. I mean, it's pouring down rain right now, so that can be another way that this plays out, is floods, tsunamis. So keeping everybody in safe energies. This can also be very emotional and intuitive and creative. This is like super divinely guided creative energy, especially considering Neptune in the mix. It's connected to music, so we can bring in all these new frequencies of like high vibration. And yeah, like I said, Able Heart is a go-to just to like get me going in the morning and like, get the vibes high to start the day. I consider this to be a shamanic catharsis for this new moon in Scorpio, and a lot of intuitive downloads during meditation or even in your dreams. But yeah, we're definitely outgrowing like, consider yourself a plant whose roots are outgrowing the pot that you're in. I mean, it's just time to be repotted. And so I consider the Mercury retrograde opposite Uranus retrograde root bound and down. So be open to the changes. You're outgrowing things, and some things will fall away, and that's okay. You know, like, just trust the divine timing, and know that you're being reshuffled in more authentic spaces. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to mention about that. Mercury is still retrograde, so yeah, technical glitches can still be going off. That's been a lot of the holdup for me the past few weeks, so that's still going on. It'll station direct on the 29th of November, but then there's still about 2 weeks of shadow period, so just review all the fine details between now and then, extra 2 or 3 times. If you have to make an important decision, look out for other drivers. Uranus opposite this, you can be blinded by the sun, you don't see a biker or somebody crossing the street. So just take it easy, take your time, slow down. There's no rush. If you miss a day of work, your alarm doesn't go off, then that's probably a sign of needing more rest. So welcome it, and people around you are probably experiencing the same thing. So we can all use a little more rest, especially with these upgrades that we are going through right now. It's just like a computer that needs to be rebooted when a new version is ready, right? All right, I hope that made sense. I hope that was helpful, and definitely hit me up. Don't hesitate to reach out to unfold your beautiful blueprint, birth chart, cosmic signature. And yeah, I hope to see you on the next one. Till then, take care.